The way we talk about NFL draft prospects and the way we talk about all-time great quarterbacks is very different. With draft prospects, we obsess over the quarterback's height and weight, their 40 time, the velocity on their throws during their pro day, and the firework finale 60-yard throw across their body to finish things off. And when we talk about all-time great quarterbacks like Brady, Manning, Montana, and Breeze, we talk about what they can do pre-snap, their consistency, how they know how to handle any defense that can be thrown their way. So, there's clearly a divide here, and it makes us think the quarterback position has to be 90% mental. But is it just that simple? What does that even mean? And no, it's not that simple. Like everything in life, it's a spectrum. And if you can concede that you cannot be as physically gifted as some other people, you can make up for it with insane football IQ, i.e. Tom Brady, then you also have to concede that you can make up for lower and inexperienced football IQ with insane talent. But which is more important? And where on this inverse relationship does one start to outweigh the other? And if a team is drafting a quarterback, which should they hold higher in value? Well, in today's video, we're going to learn exactly that, look at both sides of the argument, and come to some sort of conclusion. There's obviously a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. And to start things out, the perfect example to really show that football IQ is important but not everything is Kellen Moore. Watching Kellen Moore at Boise State break every record imaginable was so much fun to watch. And now Kellen Moore at the age of 34 is calling plays for the Dallas Cowboys and just led the team to have the #1 offense in the league just last season. So based off of his college and his coaching career, it is obvious that he understands how defenses work and has incredibly high football IQ. But in his NFL playing career, he only started 2 games, was 0-2 in those starts, and has 4 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He wasn't physically gifted enough at 6 foot, 195 pounds to make NFL throws, even though more than likely he knew exactly what to do with the ball. And on the complete flip side of things, we have a guy like Trey Lance, incredibly gifted and has attributes more like a tight end or running back with his height, weight, and speed, and he has a huge arm. But he hasn't played a lot of football. Actually, he's played the least amount of collegiate snaps of any first-round quarterback in NFL history. Insanely talented, and don't get the idea that I'm saying he isn't smart, but his football IQ is definitely the thing to question solely because he just hasn't played many games yet. And then on the top right end of the spectrum, we looked at someone who I believe to be the most talented quarterback of all time, Aaron Rodgers. He has it all. He's extremely athletic and has the ability to make those impressive pro day throws in real games, and he has all-time football IQ. One dimension of this conversation is important, but obviously if you can have elite levels of both, this is when we see generational talent. And in the league, we see every other quarterback somewhere in between on the spectrum. Guys like Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G, Cam Newton, Derek Carr, Kyler Murray, all with different variables of both. And we'll start to see which one is actually more important and why this is being reflected in how we're drafting quarterbacks in today's NFL. But before we move on and talk about that and get a deeper understanding, we really need to hammer this point home so it makes sense. And I think the best way to do this actually comes from another sport. This is why the back-to-back MVP of the NBA is a 7-foot, dumpy, unathletic white from Serbia, while nowadays we see high schoolers that are 360 windmill dunking. What Jokic lacks in athleticism, he more than makes up for basketball IQ, body positioning, footwork, and really nice touch with his shot. Jokic and Shaq couldn't be further from each other in terms of athletic dominance, but their numbers are nearly identical, and Jokic is doing things that no center in NBA history has ever done. He has to finish in bottom 5 percentile in terms of athleticism, but again, he's 7 foot tall. It's not just about basketball IQ. You can't be 5'8" with Jokic's court vision and make it work in the NBA at this level. And this is the Kellen Moore camp. The same way we see thousands of windmilling high schoolers that don't make it into the league because their lack of understanding of the game can't be masked by their athleticism come a certain time. But you get a guy like LeBron, best of both worlds, and you get an all-time great. And I think teams are becoming more and more aware of this spectrum. For the first time in a while, we're starting to see a new era of quarterback. This past era with Brady, both Mannings, Breeze, Roethlisberger, and Rivers all were the mold of incredibly smart guys who only get smarter with years played. But now, I think we're starting to see a new era where teams are looking for very specific guys. Coaches know that it's incredibly hard to teach someone how to read a defense at an all-time elite level, but they know it's even harder to coach natural ability. And actually, it's impossible. So we start to see guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, guys with immense talent and ability and maybe really raw at the position their rookie years, but they're also looking for guys who are hungry and willing to learn. And if the teams have enough patience, you can get a guy like Patrick Mahomes who self-claims didn't know how to read a defense properly till year 3 of his career, now be able to hit upper 60% in completion rate, have a low amount of interceptions, and now you have a guy that can make throws like this, but also throws like this when the time calls for it. And this is why teams are now dumping their entire future for a raw guy like Trey Lance and hope for him to get developed not only mechanically, but with his understanding of the game as well, knowing that they can't teach his tangibles. So, which is more important? Well, to me, football IQ is absolutely going to trump things here in the grand scheme of things. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady being the pinnacle examples of this. They set a trend for a generation of teams looking for the next 6'4", pocket-passing, high IQ guy. And this led teams to picking a lot of people who fit this description, but didn't have enough arm talent to get the job done like Brady and Manning both did. And now we're starting to see teams draft guys with high success rates like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. And there is no doubt that this is also going to lead teams to draft more raw, but incredibly gifted quarterbacks who don't work out because they don't have the same hunger or work ethic or processing ability to improve their football IQ like these other guys did. So the needle and shift in ideology is more in the direction of teams looking for the next Aaron Rodgers, where they have the balance of the best of both worlds. So, will raw guys like Trey Lance and Malik Willis find their way in the league and have success? What about a guy like Kenny Pickett, who people see more NFL ready now, but his ceiling isn't high? And I completely disagree with Pickett not having a high ceiling. He has the more important of the two variables in my opinion right now, and he's already ahead in that respect, and his ceiling is going to depend more on time in league and increasing his football IQ more and more as the seasons go on. And as long as he can make these NFL throws, it will be more than enough to make up for the athletic gap between him and the guys we mentioned earlier. So Trey Lance and Malik don't have a chance? Not at all, but they do right now have the less important trait. But if they were able to surpass Kenny Pickett in decision making and accuracy, then they can do what Pickett can do, and then they can also go on to make plays that he isn't capable of making. So, does that mean there's a right answer to which one is more valuable and what teams should draft? Also, no. Just the way that every quarterback is on a spectrum, teams have a lot of it depends questions. What other pieces do they have on the offense? What does their offensive line look like? What coach does the team have? And what is his success with developing quarterbacks? And the crazy thing is teams can answer all of these questions the exact same way and reach a different conclusion. I would say the Patriots and the 49ers both have similar situations, talented rosters, good offensive lines, great defense, and great coaching. But the philosophy might be very different. They both run a system on offense, but the Patriots went the Mac Jones route, saying he will know exactly where to go with the ball and understand this offense inside and out as soon as year 1. And the Niners with the Trey Lance route, thinking it might take him more time to get to that point, but if and when he does, we will able to run things in our system that we haven't been able to do and the Patriots just aren't able to do. So, who is right? Is there a way to know without time? And even if we get 10 years of hindsight to look back on things, it still might not be as clear as we think. And this is exactly why I wanted to make this video to talk with you guys today. There is a clear disconnect with how we view quarterbacks going in the NFL and how we view established quarterbacks in the league. We need to realize it's a spectrum. We need to know the pros and cons of both, what the ideal balance is, and what other variables go into it, like championship timelines, coaching, and tangible intangibles to improve. It's so frustrating to see NFL fans have a cemented idea of what the right option is, and being stuck in an opinion really limits the beauty and the deep thoughts going into the draft and how we can view a quarterback's development. And this is key for fans to understand because I think there's so much that goes into this discussion. So it's not what is right and what is wrong, but can you justify your reasoning? For example, it's not good enough anymore to say, I think the Steelers should have taken Malik Willis over Kenny Pickett because he has a higher ceiling. We proved today that there's a lot more that goes into it. You now have to say, I think the Steelers should have chosen Malik because I really like Trubisky. I think Willis can sit back for 2 years and learn while the Steelers continue to improve their pieces, and their championship window in the AFC will look a lot better in 2 years from now. I also think Willis has shown development in college, and Mike Tomlin and the offensive coaches can get him right in 2 years. Now, this still might be wrong and definitely just an example and not what I personally think, but it's a much less lazy way to approach things and shows a lot more understanding to everything that goes into good quarterback play. And I think the more we begin to understand and have more conversations like these, the better formed opinions we can have, and the more we can understand why or why not a quarterback is working in the league or is a complete bust. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments what you think the best option for a team to go, and you need to be specific. Let me know your specific favorite team and why you like or didn't like the decision that they made drafting their quarterback or signing a guy in free agency, because I think there's a lot more nuanced conversation than what we currently have going into the draft especially. Make sure to like this video if you like videos like these. Comment down below what you think about the video and what topic you want me to cover next. And as always, make sure to subscribe if you enjoy daily sports content. Thank you guys so much for watching and checking out the channel. And as always, I will see you all tomorrow. Peace!